More is not always better, especially when it comes to government programs. Today we're going to talk about CMS adding staffing information to its Care Compare website and whether it's really a meaningful change. CMS recently announced that it is going to add staff turnover rates and weekend staffing levels to its Care Compare website. This is to give consumers another tool when choosing nursing home or assisted living facilities. The official Medicare website, which was previously called Nursing Home Compare, offers up to a 5-star rating for institutions based upon a variety of factors including health inspections, staffing, and quality measures. Users ostensibly can search for nursing homes by location and directly compare one institution to another. Now let's talk first about what CMS is adding. CMS is posting the additional information for each nursing home regarding weekend staffing and staff turnover. Regarding weekend staffing, the website is going to report the level of total nurse and registered nurse staffing on weekends provided by each nursing home over a quarter. Regarding staff turnover, CMS is going to provide the percent of nursing staff and the number of administrators that stopped working at the nursing home over the last 12-month period. CMS is adding this information to Care Compare in January, but the information will not be incorporated into its rating system until July of 2022. Now, on one hand, the staffing information could not come at a more meaningful time. There is no question that nursing homes are plagued and assisted living facilities are plagued by chronic understaffing and high turnover rates. The problem has existed for years, but obviously the recent pandemic has only worsened the condition. CMS has previously noted a relationship between turnover and ratings. CMS noted in a memo that, quote, facilities with lower nurse turnover may have more staff that are familiar with each resident's condition and may therefore be more able to identify a resident's change in condition sooner. In doing so, the facility may be able to implement an intervention to avoid an adverse event, such as a fall, acute infection, or hospitalization, all of which are indicators of quality. Similarly, facilities with lower nurse turnover may be more familiar with the facility's policies and procedures and can potentially operate more efficiently and swiftly to deliver a higher quality of care to residents. Lastly, facilities with lower administrator turnover may have greater leadership stability, direction, and operations, which may help staff provide care more consistently or effectively to residents. Now, regardless of the reason that there is this relationship, it obviously is a good thing that CMS recognizes the association between staff turnover and quality. The fundamental underlying question, though, is whether adding additional information will help transform what is otherwise a questionable and unreliable system to something that's more meaningful to consumers. Now, there's no question that the system as it exists is unreliable. The New York Times, for example, published an article, and it was entitled "Maggots, Rape, and Yet 5 Stars: How U.S. Ratings of Nursing Homes Mislead the Public." The article was an expose of how the Nursing Home Compare and Care Compare are simply abused by institutions to attain high ratings when the underlying facts simply don't bear out the justification for those high ratings. I wrote an article a few years ago entitled "Nursing Home Compare Does Not Accurately Reflect Patient Safety in Nursing Homes." And in that article I described how even after regulators had cleared institutions from already identified safety concerns, residents were no safer as a result of releasing them from strict scrutiny. Half of most dangerous nursing homes remain treacherous for residents after homes are cleared by regulators, was another article that I published on my blog. Worse yet is that the information that provided may not be meaningful even as it is added. For example, providing the weekend staffing the amount of the weekend staffing is probably not helpful to a consumer unless they can compare that to the week staffing, and that information doesn't seem to be provided. There is aggregate information with regard to turnover, which is useful, but the turnover, unless there's a way to establish how it relates to other institutions, is going to be difficult. And institutions are going to vary because by size and composition and patients. Additionally, another fundamental problem is that even with these rates and additional information, almost none of this information is provided to patients or residents at a time of their transfer from a hospital. Our most vulnerable seniors, those who are leaving a hospital under acute care for rehabilitation to a nursing home or assisted living facility, are rarely provided information that they can use to make decisions with regard to quality of care in various institutions. And I'll post the link to the article that I specifically published on my blog regarding not getting quality of care information upon discharge. The bottom line regarding institutional care for seniors in the United States is that seniors and their families remain woefully and inadequately informed and misinformed regarding the risks of institutional care. And as long as that situation exists, seniors and their families are best advised to implement a strategy of aging in place and aggressively avoid unnecessary and avoidable institutional care when possible. If you want to learn more, these are the articles that are referenced in my video. The first is the article describing that CMS is adding staffing information to Care Compare. The second article is entitled Senior Care Staffing Shortage Crisis. A nightmare scenario warns one half of facilities could close. The next article is my article on the New York Times Excellent Investigative Journalism, and the article that the New York Times published was actually entitled Maggots, Rape, and Yet 5 Stars, How U.S. Ratings of Nursing Homes Mislead the Public. It is truly a horrific read. The next article is perhaps the oldest, in 2018, entitled Nursing Home Compare Does Not Accurately Reflect Patient Safety in Nursing Homes. It reports the results of a study that was conducted and published in the journal Health Affairs. The next article is entitled Half of Most Dangerous Nursing Homes Remain Treacherous for Residents After Homes Are Cleared by Regulators, and it recounts simply how the most dangerous nursing homes, as rated by the government, actually remain dangerous even after they've been cleared by regulators. And I have to admit that somehow I think that I may have cut out reference to this next article. This next article is entitled Nursing Homes Create Phony Diagnoses to Sedate Patients with Dangerous Drugs Doubling the Risk of Death. Now, this is a very interesting article for you to read and consider, especially in light of the topic, because what it indicates is that nursing homes are increasingly using phony diagnoses, which means that they're getting around the misuse of drugs by simply creating a diagnosis that supports the misuse of drugs that are inappropriate for a senior and which the government indicates may actually double the risk of death in order to control those seniors. One of the reasons that are identified for the need for this control is obviously staffing shortages. So the very thing that we're talking about is being used as a justification by nursing homes to engage in behavior that is extremely dangerous to seniors. And this behavior is not included in the rating system because of the fact that they create phony diagnoses to justify it. It's a pretty scary article and it's very recent. So this is something that is right in the wheelhouse of what we're talking about. This last article is in many ways the most important article because it, in a completely different way, demonstrates how meaningless providing more and more and more information to the Care Compare website is to seniors. It's entitled Patients Are Not Given Quality of Care Information When Discharged from Hospitals to Nursing Homes, and it recounts the results of a study in 2017 which centered on the information that were provided to patients and their families when discharged from hospitals to nursing homes. Now, aging in place as a discrete estate planning objective requires knowledge, planning, and proper assessment of risks. One persistent risk is the very fact that the healthcare system incentivizes institutional care. I've got a number of articles and videos about that very fact. That's been happening since the 1970s, and Medicare increasingly removes autonomy from patients and incentivizes institutional care over other alternatives. Another risk, though, is that of a short-term institutional care, rehab, turning what should be a short-term need for care into a long-term or permanent need for institutional care. That is exactly what happens to many seniors. They go to a nursing home, they don't get adequate information about what the risks are. They don't get any information regarding the relative quality of the institutions into which they are often placed without information and without their guidance. As a result, they often tragically turn to permanent institutional care. That is why I am such an advocate for aging in place. If you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy the content, well, I guess I can't imagine that anyone really enjoys this content, but at least if you understand the value of this content, please like, subscribe, and share this content. I want to thank you very much for your time and attention. Please stay safe and be well.